Hi, my name's Jess Thompson and I'm Director of Psychology at the Optimum Health Clinic. And we've decided to do a series of videos where we introduce you to the teams. So today I'm joined by Nick Cook. Nick's a member of the psychology team at the Optimum Health Clinic, and he's going to share with you 3 of his top tips for working with one of the psychological subtypes that we've identified as being quite prevalent in chronic fatigue syndrome, the Achiever type. So hi, Nick, and welcome.
Hi, Jess. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Can you just start off by introducing yourself, perhaps say a little bit about yourself and then your top 3 tips?
Yeah, so my name's Nick. I came to the team via my wife, actually, Lissa, who went through the 90-day program herself and recovered. And I saw the journey that she had made. And my background was originally in psychology, and I knew it was something I always wanted to come back to. And yeah, doing the practitioner course and then joining the team was the natural progression for me. And yeah, I've been really enjoying it, really enjoying working with clients.
Brilliant. Thanks, Nick. I know you've got some top tips today you wanted to share on the Achiever subtype.
Yeah, I think it's always worth talking about what you know. And I know personally my own achiever can be quite prevalent. And I know with Lissa as well, it was one of the most working with her achiever and getting to know her achiever was one of the key things in her recovery as well. Yeah, the first one is where this achiever comes from. And like all of these parts, patterns, types, programs, a lot of them come from childhood. And although it's in a very much a therapist cliche to blame your parents, a lot of it does come to, and there's a lovely story that Professor Steve Peters tells. But his story is the fridge door painting story. So a little child comes home from her first day at school, full of energy, full of emotion, and she's got a drawing that she did at school, gives it to her mum, and her mum looks at the drawing and says, "Oh, that drawing is so wonderful. I love you so much for having done that drawing. We'll put it on the fridge door so everyone can see how wonderful you are." And you can see the messages that might convey to people. Whereas in a different situation, the mother might have taken the drawing and said, "Oh, I love you so much. You've done so well at school today. I really, really love you. Let's now look at that drawing and see what together and talk about your day at school." It's all part of life, we learn to achieve, and we're given these drivers and we're given these things that if we do X, if we achieve X, we become loved, we become safe, etc. And it just propagates and propagates and propagates. So these types, these patterns, these programs, they always come from a place of good for us. They're always looking for something good for us. It's just that it can become slightly sabotaging behavior further down the line. When we become aware of these types, these patterns, these programs, it's very easy to start thinking, well, that's obviously not doing me any good. It's burning up energy. It's making me do things I don't want to do, and start to push them away and try and but they're only doing what we ask them to do at the time. And it's actually by identifying, recognizing and engaging with them that we can actually get them to start standing down and softening. And in the same way as with thought patterns, the more you're aware of these parts and what they're doing and saying, the more you can actually engage and ask them to soften and ask them to start standing down. And there's a number of very elegant processes, NLP processes, hypnotherapy processes, but there's a lot of stuff you can do yourself with just getting to know them. And it's one thing that Lissa did very well. And one of the things, she developed a very strong identity of her achiever. And for her, it was her evil cheerleader. So it was her with bunches, with pom-poms, but there was a slight malevolent quality to her. And she developed a real relationship with this evil cheerleader and really recognized that it had got her A's through GCSEs, it got her A's at A-level, it got her through college, it got her through working for the BBC, but then it had contributed to her becoming ill. And she built up this wonderful relationship. And by doing that, by seeing her, by visualizing her, by getting to know her, she was then able to start working with her. Learn to negotiate, learn to recognize when that achiever is kicking in. Because if you can start to know the situations, you can start to make decisions about it. And there's a great example of this between Christmas and New Year. So it's that weird time when you feel you should be relaxing, but there's stuff going on. So Lissa, as part of, after recovering, retrained as a teacher. So she knew going back to school, she had I think it was like 18 lessons that she needed to get planned. But she also knew that it was going to be a full-on term time. So, she should be sort of resting and recovering. So she was ready for that term. So we were out for a walk, and I could just see she was all sort of having this almost like this internal battle. And I said, well, what's going on? She goes, oh, my evil cheerleader, she's really shouting. She wants me to go home now and plan all 18 of those lessons this afternoon. But then there's another part of me that is saying, no, you should be recovering. You should be sort of relaxing. You should be chilling out. You've got, sort of really big turn to go. And she goes, I need to come to an agreement between these two parts of me. And so she asked herself a very simple question. It was, what would be good enough for both of those parts? What would be okay for both of them? And she came up, she said, okay, I'll go home. I'll do 2 lessons today, which will probably take me an hour. And then I'll sit down and relax. And then I'll do 2 lessons the next day, but spend the rest of the time relaxing. And she came to this agreement between those two parts of her by being able to recognize them, that was acceptable to both and allowed her to do both things. So I think the key thing is, by engaging with your achiever, you allow yourself to do things, but you're doing them in a much more mindful and healing way than if you sort of fully allow the achiever to take over. So I think, that's really how I'd say is how to start dealing with your achiever.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Nick. I think in a nutshell there, you're talking about really understanding where the achiever patterns come from. As you say, very often stems from childhood, really beginning to develop that relationship with your inner achiever. And then, as you say, kind of finding ways to balance that out. So getting to know the positive intentions of the part of you that really wants to drive and achieve, but also the part of you that knows that balance is important. So thank you, Nick. That's super helpful. I'm sure people listening will find it helpful. And also just lovely to be able to introduce you.
No problem at all. Lovely to speak to you.
Thanks.
Take care.